One think tank reckons that our proposed high-speed rail link is too costly, while opponents say it'll destroy local communities. But if it revitalises the economy and creates jobs, should we really take heed of a bunch of NIMBYs? 0207 173 5555 is the number you need. It's the panel's thoughts first, though.
Just 1 in 3 of us supports HS2, but where would the rest of you like the cash spent instead? In education, health or sport? Find out after this short break. So just 1 in 3 of us supports HS2, but where would the rest of you like the cash spent instead? The answer is health.
Welcome back to Monday Show with Saira, Lembit, Opik and Gemma Gibbons, who'll have the rest of today's headlines for you shortly. But first, Lembit is stripped off, he's oiled up, and he's about to have a judo bout with Gemma. Oh, was I dreaming? I was dreaming.
It's a family show. Dream on, baby.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
But first, HS2B or not to be. 0207 173 5555 is the number for your calls. Think tank, the Institute of Economic Affairs, reckons we'd be better off just scrapping the proposed high-speed rail link between London, Birmingham, Manchester and Leeds. They say it's going to cost £80 billion, twice the estimated £42.6 billion, and nearly 3 times the original estimate of £33 billion. That cash, they believe, would be better spent on road, regular rail and other transport projects. Work on HS2 is scheduled to start in 2017, subject to plans being approved by Parliament in 2015. Could be up and running between London and Birmingham by 2026, with lines to Manchester and Leeds by 2032. That seems an awful long way away, doesn't it? The Department of Transport says it's vital for business. It'll mean the country doesn't have to be so London-focused, rebalance the north-south divide and pump billions into the economy. And these 250-mile-per-hour, 1,000-plus seater super trains will be the fastest in Europe. Slash travel times to London. London to Birmingham will go to 49 minutes from an hour and a half. London to Manchester, just over an hour, half the current time. London to Edinburgh and Glasgow will be reduced by an hour. Yet, despite all of that, the polls say just 1 in 3 of us back HS2. Critics like the Campaign to Protect Rural England say it'll damage the environment, blight beauty spots and disrupt local communities with up to 60 noisy trains an hour, as well as devastating house prices along the route. So, this is an interesting one, because I have to say, reading this one, I was thinking, oh, maybe we should bite the bullet, because look at all the fuss over Eurostar and the Channel Tunnel, and yet now it's very much part of our infrastructure. I was kind of leaning that way. Saira, you and I had a wee chat and make-up, and you kind of blew me out the water. Yeah. So I'm handing to you.
Well, this is the wrong vision for Britain. You know, if we have got billions and billions of pounds to spend, we need to be spending it on the future sustainability and make sure that Britain is the leading country in one thing, and that is about being ahead in the digital age. It's about connectivity. You know, we are a knowledge-based country. Our wealth and future prosperity will depend on how we can connect everybody in this country to the internet around the world. So what's important to me is that John in Chester can connect effectively, safely and quickly to somebody, wherever it may be, India or China, and be able to do business that way. That's more important to me than him being able to save 90 minutes on a train down to London. People are living in the digital age right now, and it's about being ahead. That's what China's doing, that's what India doing. We need to compete with these emerging economies. That's what they're investing in, not trains. We need to be... It's about the internet, it's about connectivity. People are working more from home. Yeah. It's actually better for the environment. We don't want people coming backwards and forwards. We want people to work from home, have that, happier, better life-work balance, and the internet age allows us to do that.
So, far from being futuristic, you think this is behind the curve?
I think it's behind the curve, and I think that's because we have old-fashioned, out-of-touch politicians. I know that's very easy for me to say.
Especially when one's sitting on your right-hand side.
But this is... When it is out of touch, this is the kind of thing that it just seems out of date, out of touch, and old-fashioned. And when you look at the people making the decisions, you just think it represents them. You know, 16-year-olds in this country, you know, 15-year-olds, they are the internet age. A 16-year-old will know more about social media than the CEO of any big company.
Yeah. I must say it's an interesting take, and I had missed it, I have to say. I must be one of these old fogies like me. Lembit, what do you think?
I violently agree. Violently agree with Saira. In fact, Saira for Prime Minister. That's what I think. Well, certainly Transport Minister. This is absolute rubbish. I'll tell you why. Number one, 2015. That's when it all really kicks off.
Well, 2017 was actually starting the project.
But what actually happens in 2015 is a general election. And therefore, anything that you promised till then can just be wiped off after the next election. Number two, this saving in time can be done just by having sort of bypasses around some of the stations with the existing tracks. The existing trains do 140 miles per hour if our tracks were improved a bit. So you have a few non-stop ones, then you have other ones which stop. But the third thing is, like Saira says, why would you travel 300 miles if you can Skype? You actually look stupid for making the journey.
Yeah, but it's an interesting thing, that, because we've had that kind of technology for actually quite a long time now, and our adoption rate of it is very, very poor. Maybe people want to travel. Maybe people need those face-to-face meetings.
I don't think they want to. I think it's because we're poor at actually investing in this technology in this country. London is the leading city in the world for e-commerce. That's a great head start, but we're not doing very much to actually become the leading country in the world for saying this country is the best at connectivity.
Let's think about what we're telling people. People fly in from America, that's in business class from New York, they land in Heathrow, and then they could fly up to, say, Glasgow, but instead they're all going to collect their bags, they're going to trundle down to the Piccadilly line, and then sit there for an hour and a quarter till they get to the terminal and say, well, that was a really good idea, it saved 4 grams of carbon and cost me an extra 2 hours. So think again. Think again, politicians.
Gemma, what are your thoughts on it? Is this something that you think is an important thing, or is it just kind of passing you by?
It kind of passed me by, to be honest. I'm kind of on the fence, but after listening to you guys, I'm more on your side of the fence. It's great to have good transport, and if you can cut your journey time down, brilliant, but it sounds like it's going to cost more than it's worth, so... Yeah.
I mean, could it be a good kickstart for the economy, though? Because, I mean, what we're looking for now, we're told, is growth. There are some kind of, you know, green shoots, etc., but, you know, continue being told that you need to invest in public infrastructure.
I personally think it's a short-term vision, and it's one of those things that politicians do because the election is looming. It's not actually
it's not exactly proving popular down the route, is it?
Well, exactly, but it's, you know, they think that you know, they'll win it because Cameron's really behind this. And I think it's short...
I didn't say we were best friends, I said we were just...
It's short-term, and actually, it's not a holistic policy, because I thought this government was very, very concerned about saving the environment, and actually this is one thing that proves it's not.
Just one other thing.
Go on then.
I was just going to say, the finest group of people anywhere in the United Kingdom, which is your viewers, actually say the money should be going to the health service. Now, that's a big survey of people.
Yeah, but having said that, you ask people any question of where they would spend money, and they would say the health service. And I guess politicians can't always respond to that. They do have to look at all the aspects of our
call me old-fashioned like Saira did before.
Like she just did, yeah.
But actually, I think there's some crazy idea here that if the public want more investment in health and less investment in HS2, then maybe politicians should listen. Is that insane an idea?
Well, listen, we're going to listen because we're going to the break and we're going to calls. But just one little thing, sorry, before you go. I mean, I suppose the other thing I'm interested in is what kind of vision for the future people see, because you're saying that we should be working at home, closer to home, and we should be communicating digitally. Do people want that? Or is that going to create a very kind of... But we'll hold it until after the break. Because after the break, it's your turn. Should we scrap plans for the high-speed rail link, or do we need to keep Britain competitive? 0207 173 5555 is the number you need. Your calls on the other side of the ads.
According to pollsters YouGov, which voters are most likely to support HS2? The Lib Dems, Conservative or Labour? Find out after this short break. So according to pollsters YouGov, which voters are most likely to support HS2? The answer is Lib Dem.
life full of contradictions. Welcome back to Monday's show with Saira, Lembit, Opik and special guest Gemma Gibbons. HS2B or not to be, 1207 173 5555 is the number for your calls. Think tank, the Institute of Economic Affairs, reckons we should scrap Britain's proposed high-speed rail link between London, Birmingham, Manchester and Leeds, as it will cost twice the estimate of £42.6 billion. Critics also reckon it'll damage the environment and disrupt local communities. But it'll slash travel times, boost the economy, especially in the north, reduce congestion and create hundreds of thousands of jobs, say its supporters. Are those mouthing off about cost just a bunch of not-in-my-backyarders who don't want progress? And before the break, Saira felt we are investing in the wrong thing. Money needs to be spent on improving our digital technology. Lembit agreed we could improve existing lines and still cut journey times. And Gemma thought, yep, we do need a better transport network, but the cost of HS2 seems to be too high. Kirsty, what are people saying at home? Are they commenting on my routes at all?
No, but they might be commenting on mine.
Right, OK. I haven't had time to get them done, and I'm just a bit worried about that. Are they saying anything about trains?
There's lots of calls on trains. Paul's online too.
OK. Morning, Paul.
Good morning.
Good morning. What part of the country are you in, Paul?
I'm in Welshpool, which Lembit knows very well.
All right, OK. So would you be affected by this if it goes ahead?
I wouldn't be affected by it, but my main point is, at the end of the day, it's a business. It's going to cost an awful lot of money to get this business up and running. It'll continue to cost money for the life of the business because rail fares alter, they go up, they very rarely go down. Cost of living stays very, very low. So it's going to cost an awful lot of money even after the millions of pounds have been spent on it to get it up and running.
Do you think the benefits, though, of it would make that a justifiable investment?
I can't get into the benefit. It's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business that needs to be run, that needs to be paid for, that needs to be supported by finances provided by the public.
Yeah.
So therefore, whether it's a benefit or not, it's still going to cost an awful lot of money long into the future. The health service, childcare, GPs, health boards, everybody could benefit from such a vast amount of money.
I mean, do you think we need to do something about our transport links, though? Do you think that is a priority? It's something that we talk about a lot and people express a lot of concern about.
Upgrade it.
Yeah.
Upgrade it, but don't do the full thing.
There's a lot of systems out 24/7 on the tracks, repairing them, making sure they're safe, making sure they're stable. Upgrade them. You can spend that money totally revamping the whole systems that we have. In mid-Wales, we have not a very good train service, but it's adequate. But at times you can't get a train, you have to wait. Right. It's a shocking system for the public.
Right, so there's room for improvement in what we've currently got as far as you're concerned. Paul, listen, thanks very much for that. It just means that, Saira, in terms of transport infrastructure, do we need to be spending money on aspects of it, or is your vision for a digital age, you know, does it kind of transcend that?
Well, I think, you know, yes, we do need, in the short term, to be spending money on upgrading our existing infrastructure. But I don't think we need to be spending billions and billions of pounds on it. And I think long term, I do believe that we are going to be looking at communities who are, you know, working from home. We don't need to be travelling as much as we did. And I think that's the long-term goal. I think if I was a politician, I'd be thinking, how do I make the local community self-sufficient, where people don't have to travel, and actually they have, like I said before, a happier work-life balance. You know, you can work from home, drop your kids off, pick them up, and, you know, it's those little things that actually make people's lives happier.
I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Does it feel like a step backward? I don't know.
It is viable. And Paul from Welshpool, I know that train line very well, and Paul's absolutely right. It's 2 hours apart for the trains, and oftentimes they're delayed. What we should be investing is a few £1 million on that line, rather than this pretend nonsense £42,000 million, when you can actually fly up. I'll tell you, this is controversial. I'd rather spend the money on a third runway, because actually, in the real world, the aviation industry doesn't produce much environmental damage. It looks like it does, because it's in the sky, but that's a sensible way to get from the south to the north and actually invest in those regional areas and do exactly what Saira says. Give people the space to work from home 2 days a week. The biggest single thing we could do to improve quality of life in this country.
You must do a lot of travelling. How do you travel about?
Yeah, we travel a lot. Quite often it's by car.
Right.
If we're travelling down from Edinburgh, where I'm based now, the new performance centre's opening up in Walsall, and that should be about a 5.5-hour journey, but it took us 7.5 hours the other day.
Why wouldn't you go by train?
I think probably the cost of the British Judo as well, to be honest. It's very, very expensive when you've got a whole team of Scottish athletes travelling down. The train's like 150 quid.
And you can't imagine the fares for this are going to be particularly cheap.
No, exactly.
Kirsty, we'll get anyone who's in favour of this?
We do. We have Richard online.
All right, good. Richard, morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Not a lot of love for this project on the panel.
It says some themes.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm fully in favour of HS2 because at the moment we are literally running off a 70 system, and a lot of that is simply because of the mentality of, well, Britain. We thought the motorways were the way forward in the 60s, and then further on we just became complacent. We don't have a proper infrastructure. You go around the world to France, Germany, Netherlands, you go around the world to China, they're all running off fast trains, and it's not so much about, okay, we can get some jobs out of it for 10 years. It's more the fact that we can have a middle wage bracket, say 20, 30k, and I live in Manchester. I could be working in Birmingham, but vice versa. You have a 30, 40k job. You could be working in London.
Right.
And obviously, if you know you're going to work there, you'd be buying the tickets at a reasonable price, not 2 days before getting the trade. But that's a different debate.
So, Richard, how important do you think the saving time is? I mean, you're saying that you're in Manchester and you could potentially work in Birmingham or London. Well, is it because it takes too long to get there? Is that the impediment?
Yeah, of course. From Manchester to London, it's 2 hours. You try working, just doing 4 hours worth of travelling. It's impossible. You cut that to 2 hours. You can see teachers working in London from Manchester, effectively. And
but why?
It's a long-term goal.
Lembit?
You can't just pass this up. You said you can just upgrade the existing line. You cannot take an hour off that journey time.
Easy target.
OK, Richard, go on, Lembit.
The question I got for you, Richard, is why would you want to work in London if you live in Manchester? The fact of the matter is, the whole point about geographical mobility is moving once, not having millions of people going up and down the country for 80,000 million quid. That's like £2.5 billion a minute.